Morning, everybody. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to get settled and get in, but thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Jen Allen. If you are new to the series, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back. But those of you will probably know by now, every month we tackle a different topic related to our jobs as sellers and what kind of makes that hard. And this month for August, we are tackling one of my absolute favorite topics, which you can see on the screen, which is called resolving buyer group conflict. So first and foremost, those of you that have been following along with us will know that across the past 7 years, Challenger's actually been studying this idea of group consensus and group buying. And some of you will have heard me talk about the fact that back in 2015, when the Challenger customer came out, there was an average of 5.4 customer stakeholders involved in a buying decision. In 2020, in just 5 years, that number jumped up to 11.2. So it is not to say that every different sale and every different transaction will have 11.2 buyers, but I had a little fun with this. I reached out to my network earlier this week and I said, talk to me a little bit about what is the biggest number of stakeholders you personally encountered in a B2B deal. This is not scientific research. This was just tapping into the experiences of those that I'm connected to. Now, we're going to put up a poll on the screen to hear from you around what is the largest number of customer stakeholders you've personally encountered in a B2B deal right now. But I want you to look at some of the things that I heard in the course of asking this question, and I've kind of grouped them into themes. So the first set of themes I heard was just, man, is the number a lot bigger than 11.2. So you look at Nick's answer, and by the way, everyone gave me permission. If you comment on a post, you will not find it in a deck. I asked everybody to share this. But Nick, who was selling in the healthcare space, talked about 22 different stakeholders. When you look at Tim, he talked about doing a demo for 43 people. Andrew, 38 people involved in a buying decision. What I think is interesting is you look at Dale's answer, and the number is a little bit lower. It's 14. But one of the things that stood out to me is all 14 of those attended every meeting, demo, and presentation. I would say it's hard enough to get one person's time, let alone herding cats to get 14 people on every single meeting together. It's much harder, right? Then you look at some of the other answers that I got, and you see things like Justin down here. Well, we've got 17 active, but who knows how many people were involved behind the scenes? So we've got the ones that we're directly engaging with, but what about that indirect influence? Who are they asking? And then Ryan and Jonathan shared a little bit of a similar theme, which is they saw 15 for a really small price point. So I think all of us who've sold an enterprise have always had this notion that like group buying is just something we have to deal with. But there's always been sort of a point about like, yeah, but how often is that happening when you're selling a lower point, more transactional product? Ryan talking about 15 people for a $50,000 deal. Jonathan talking about in their mid-market space, they're seeing 5 to 8, upwards of 15 stakeholders. But my all-time favorite answer, and no knock to this company, they are a client, we love them, is Darren over at RepView saying 73 with Microsoft, because Microsoft, right? So all this to say is that this job, this notion, this behavior of customer buying to trend more towards consensus buying is really, really difficult for us, because it's not like a bunch of other time or productivity has been freed up for us as sellers. In fact, if anything, the job has just gotten harder. And I think this is the extent of my own graphic design skills here, but I think none of us want to be sitting in meetings like this, right? Where we are taking 6 people or 10 people or 70 people who barely interact with each other at the customer organization, even when they sit in the same function sometimes, and trying to get them to buy something. And now in the chat, I'd love to see, who is your favorite cat here? Like, I will have to say mine personally is number 6 over here, because number 6 is at every group meeting I do. I don't know what it is about it, but it's the guy or gal who has no idea why they're there. They're there because their boss told them to be there, and they're absolutely clueless as to what role they're supposed to play. And then we've got our friend, the Sphinx, up here. I definitely have had my fair share of those. But the goal here and the goal for this session is herding cats is not an enjoyable job. It's not a productive job. It extends our sales cycle. So the idea of just herding cats with more cats, I think, is kind of a failing prophecy. So what can we do instead? Now, before we look at what we do, we kind of have to think about, why did this notion of consensus buying start to become such an issue? So if you rewind, right, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, when I first started selling, I was selling a product to CMOs. And I will tell you, the path for a sale was get to the decision maker, get to the CMO, sell them on the value of the service. And they pretty often, if they saw value, would make the decision to buy independently, right? So that worked really, really well for a very long time, until we hit 08, 09, which, as many of you know, is when Challenger was first studied. And in that environment, what ended up happening is these same executives who had made independent decisions on investments and purchases found themselves in the hot seat. And they were getting questions like, why did we buy this thing, right? Is anybody even using it? What is the value we're getting out of it? And so that created a new behavior, which is, I'm not going to be putting myself in that position again. Instead, I still want to vet things, but then if I like them, I'm going to have that seller go talk to Bob, Mary, and Sue too. Because that way, if it doesn't get used, if something goes wrong, it's not just me on the chopping block, it's all of us. We made this decision, right? So back in that time, the seller response was, okay, I'll get to the decision maker, and then he'll point me to the 3 people I need to speak with. And I'm going to go around to each and tailor the solution based on what they tell me they need. Right? And that worked decent for a little while. But in this environment we're in now, where it's not 3 people, but we're talking upwards of 10 or 20 or 30, or my goodness, 70, right? When you do the math and you think about having 10, 20, 30 separate conversations, scheduling that time, having those calls, sending follow-up, summarizing all of that, it is really easy to understand why a lot of these deals end up falling into no decision, because the distance and the time between that first conversation with a decision maker to the point at which we've collected everybody's input is so long that the buying group starts to realize, hey, we're getting by without solving this problem. And so what this begs is to say, is this, the strategy in the middle, the right play when you have as many people getting involved, either directly or indirectly, in the buying decision as we do today? So to prove this out, we're going to do a little exercise here. And we're going to imagine that all of us together are coming together to order a pizza. Now, I want everybody to put in the chat, if you were able to order a pizza and you could put one single topping on it, only one topping, what topping would you pick? I'm going to come off screen share for a second to see what we got. Oh, shoot, chat is disabled. I am not sure why that would be. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, throw it in the Q&A if you could, and then Wendy will work on getting that chat function back up and running. So let's say we are ordering a pizza. Everybody has in their mind an idea of what topping they want. Now, when we have that pizza ordering conversation, what ultimately happens in most cases when we've done this is that everybody really actually wants either pepperoni or pineapple. I'm a pineapple freak, or something else, right? Like you want a topping on your pizza. But when you are put into a situation where you've got 9 other people involved in ordering a pizza, guess which pizza topping we tend to see most commonly chosen? It's either one of 2 things. It's either 1, cheese, because not everybody really gets excited about cheese, but we can kind of all agree on cheese. Or 2, it is, we picked pepperoni, but honestly, I'm going to pick the pepperoni off, right? So ultimately what happens is when we get into these large groups, there's all different needs and things that we want, but we settle for a minimum threshold. We settle for a lowest cost denominator, right? And so that actually creates this environment where even if we wanted to buy a solution for a problem, half the people aren't even really that happy with what we got, right? So you end up with high purchase regret. And so if you translate this into a B2B function, right, and a B2B sale or B2B customer conversation, it's really not so much about the numbers. Now, we've been tracking it. We talk a lot about it just because it's fascinating to watch how big it's exploding, but it really isn't about the numbers. You could have the same problem, whether it's 3 people or 30 people. And the problem here is the misalignment of those three people. Now, what I've done on the left is just a quick graphic to kind of illuminate this, right? So when you take three different executives, each one of those executives, even sometimes in the same function, will have different prioritization of goals, priorities, and metrics that they care about. And so when we take the cat herding play, right, and we go to each stakeholder and what do you want? What's most important to you? What we end up doing is actually driving that dysfunction and that diversity of opinion even further. And what I've encountered, I'm sure many of you have encountered as well, is you end up in a position where you've got all of these different needs, none of which speak to one another. So the common answer when these three people to come together is, well, let's just pick a solution we can all agree is the right price. And so this tiny little triangle down here ends up often being defaulting to price. So what do we do instead? Rather than seek to understand from each stakeholder what they believe they need, what solution they believe they should buy, what problem they should believe they should buy, really what Challenger is about is teaching that customer an insight about something that is underappreciated and showing the group how it affects each of the different roles, right? So it's a movement, it's a subtle movement, but it's one from I extract needs from you to a motion where I am teaching needs to you in a way that the group can agree or disagree on the problem at hand. Now, this sounds good in theory, but obviously the goal of this webinar series is to provide really effective tactics and frameworks and things to help you do this. So I'm not going to leave you hanging. We are going to talk today about how we think differently about our role as sellers in a buying group, such that instead of being the sales rep who is selling the solution, we are adding value to the customer by facilitating something called collective learning on the problem before we ever get to talking about the solution. So I put the definition here. I'm going to read it because it's a really important definition. Collective learning is an interaction where people explore and norm an issue by debating and building upon each other's perspectives, finding points of unrecognized agreement and disagreement, and arriving at a shared understanding. If we think about it, right, this job of a seller is not about us. It's not about our solution. It's not about our company. It's not about what we sell. What it is about is actually helping and aiding the buyer in their own understanding of the problem. And so we're going to break down 5 steps today in how we as sellers can play a bit of a different role when we encounter these buying groups to do this very thing of facilitating collective learning. So let's get into it. First things first, let's talk about what it doesn't look like, right? And I will be the first to admit that I have had countless deals where I have worked with a stakeholder who was so excited about working with us. And they worked their butt off to get all of the buying group in the room. And I've got this group meeting. I'm so excited because I can finally help them see how we can be an effective partner. And what did I do? I jumped from warmer. And those of you that know Challenger will know this is sort of the choreography of the conversation. We've got previous episodes, if this is new to you, that will explain this. But I went to warmer, which is, here's the problem I understand you're trying to solve. And then I dove right into, now here's how we're going to help you solve it, right? But what I failed to appreciate is that I've had conversations with maybe 1 or 2 members of the buying group to understand their perception of the problem. But I had never spoken to the 8, 20 other people who were now joining this group meeting for the first time. And so what ended up happening is I jumped right to a solution without understanding the group's sort of attitude or mindset to the problem. And so I ended up getting tons of objections like this. Hey, cool solution, but it's a bad time. Or we actually don't have a need for that right now. Or send me more information, or we just don't have budget for this. Because I was jumping ahead in the choreography, assuming that because I had done this with 1 or 2 people, the rest of the group would look at the problem the same way. They all work for the same company. Of course, they value the problem the same way. So this is a big mistake that I made. I interpreted Challenger as like, this is something you do with 1 person. And then when you get to the group meeting, that's your opportunity to talk about the solution. We're going to kind of break that conventional wisdom now. So first things first, anyone who missed last month's episode. This is your Cliff Notes version. If you did miss it, I would highly encourage you to listen because these two episodes kind of go hand in hand. What we talked about last time was, what do you do when you actually have an interested stakeholder? How do you get them to advocate and mobilize with this broader buying group? That was last month's theme. It's on our website, free to access for anyone who wants to watch. And we talked about 3 critical things. And I want to repeat those because the rest of the deck, the rest of the steps are going to hinge off of these things. So first things first is partnering with your mobilizer on the cost of inaction, right? And so what that entails is co-creating this summary statement that outlines this current state, the business problem, the impact of the problem, what it costs for them to do nothing, because that is the single most essential ingredient we have to a productive group discussion. I want to contrast that with, if I show up to a group meeting and I open with, we're here today to understand what everybody is looking for out of the solution, that's those meetings that completely go off the rails, right? So I am intentionally working with my mobilizer to create a provocative statement that is going to form the basis of the group discussion that we're going to go through in a minute here. So that's step 1. Step 2 is using that statement. Then I'm looking to my mobilizer to understand, and I want to be really explicit about asking this, who is likely to just want to stick with status quo and why, right? Who's the Mr. Rogers of the group? I love this term. It was a client that came up with this. Like, who's the person that just sits there and nods their head at everybody because they're a really nice guy or gal? Don't be misled by them. Don't kind of fall into that head fake. And then who is most likely to be skeptical of this business problem, right? Remember, we're all focused on the problem. We are not focused on the solution yet. Who is most likely to be skeptical of prioritizing this problem, and what else would they prioritize above it? This is essential, right? Because we need to know what other priorities we are competing against, not just what other competitors are we competing against. And then lastly, this is something I started doing last year, is look to your mobilizer to understand the group dynamics and the tensions, right? I can't tell you how many times I've sat on calls for what I sell, and you'll get sales and marketing in the room, and you could just feel it. It's icky, and they are angry, and you could tell they just don't want to agree with each other on anything at all. It's very easy for us as sellers to assume, oh, it's something I'm doing, it's something I've said. So it's why it's so important to walk into that conversation being aware of, are there recent moments of conflict? Are there reasons why there's disagreement? Is there bad blood? And then similarly, this is something we can kind of do a little bit of research on our own. When we look at the different people involved in the group meeting, do we notice that, hey, maybe 2 or 3 of them were at the same organization previously? Oftentimes when you notice something like that, those folks can tend to ally around each other. So just observing and knowing those dynamics and those behaviors can be extraordinarily helpful outside and above and beyond all the normal prep we would do. So that was last episode. Quick kind of recap, because we're going to build on that in the next 5 steps we talk about. So step 1, and you're going to see a theme throughout most of these steps here, which is somebody who is working on your behalf in the customer, we call them mobilizers, is taking on extra work by doing that, right? It is a lot of extra work, candidly. And one of the big reasons why deals die is because that stakeholder will just ultimately say, I am already so busy. This is becoming a hassle. Let's kick this out 6 months. So we as sellers have to be mindful of, how do I make it as easy as possible for this mobilizer to mobilize on my behalf without putting a bunch of extra work on their plate. So this probably looks really simple and basic, but I cannot tell you how many times executives will say, thank you for taking the time to do this. So I don't have to, cut time out of my day to come up with a note like this. So the note is pretty simple. I'll take you through it, and then we'll talk about the intention behind it. So it's something to the effect of, team, as we consider problem, I've asked Sally Smith at Acme to spend 30 minutes with our team. I met with Sally this week to provide context on our plans for this objective, as well as the roadblocks we've encountered. She had some unique perspective on the problem based on X and Y. Any concerns with us spending 30 minutes on this together? Now, this is not a long email. This is not rocket science, right? But every part of this email is extremely intentional. So if you go to the right side, right, in episode 2 of this year, which available for replay if you missed it, we talked about how important it is for us to build credibility through our social presence. We are leveraging that here because people are going to want to know, if I'm going to say yes to a meeting, who is this person? What insight do they bring? And they're going to look us up. right? So make it easy. Link back to your profile and make sure that your profile is not all about being a rock star and how much you sold and how much you crushed quota, but you actually have things in there that show that you have a valuable, unique, credible perspective, right? So that's piece one. Piece two is we are intentionally illuminating the fact that Brian has vetted this, right? This is not, hey, I saw this random person. Would you guys be open to talking to her? This is, I have spent the time, Sally has passed the bar in terms of offering unique perspective. So that's lowering defenses, lowering risk. Third, this is incredibly important. We want to make sure that we are positioning the conversation on the problem, not the solution. Again, I cannot tell you how many times I got this wrong. My statement would sound like, she can take us through how Challenger will help solve for X. And that is a sales pitch. And I will say, especially in markets like this, where people are so sensitive to spending money and people are sensitive to being thrown into a sales process, when you do that, it throws up all sorts of alarm bells around, do I really want to get involved in this? Do I really want to have this solution conversation? Is it really the right time to spend budget? And you start hearing a lot of those objectives around not the right time, no budget. So we want to be very problem-centric in our intent for the meeting so that we are setting that discussion up in the way that's going to be most beneficial. And then lastly, using this low resistance ask. Remember, this is a peer-to-peer communication. This is not a seller, selling to a customer. We have to write like an executive would write to one another. So lead with the objection, right? Any concerns with us spending 30 minutes together? Not, this is going to be a really good use of your time and I highly recommend it. We have to invite disagreement. We have to invite that collaboration. So that's step one, right? Get the meeting position in the right way. Step two, let's say we've got the meeting now. Second place we can massively reduce buyer effort and mobilizer effort is co-drafting the plan for the group meeting. So similarly, this is a really short, punchy note. Here's my availability for the meeting, insert calendar link. We won't mark slides, but I attached a plan so you can react and share your ideas. Are you comfortable asking the questions in speaker notes on pages 3 and 5, Sally? Same thing. Every piece of this is massively intentional. On the right-hand side, if you take away one thing from this conversation, make it easy for your buyer to schedule the dang meeting, right? Like, I think there's a lot of sensitivity around using calendar links, but when someone has asked for time, you are doing them a service by putting in a link that allows them to, in real time, check your availability. What this prevents is back and forth of how's Tuesday, how's Wednesday, is 9 a.m., what time zone are you in? That's all work for your buyer, right? Remember, they are coordinating calendars with multiple people on their end, so make it as easy as possible for them to know what your availability is. Two, when you attach the plan, my preferred approach here is like 4 or 5 slides that are essentially your Challenger choreography. And the reason you want this is because you and your mobilizer are working together. And you want to make it very clear to them what your choreography is so that they know not to jump ahead to solution, or that they know where you're going with the conversation so you can be aligned in how you're looking at the choreography of the conversation. And last thing is, remember, these are mobilizers. These are people who actively want what we have to offer. They have credibility with the buying team. Don't not take advantage of them, right? They want to help. So one tactic I use is to say, I'm going to put some powerful questions in specific places, and I'm going to ask the mobilizer to ask those questions. That way, it's not 100% me talking at the group. I'm actually leveraging the power of that mobilizer, and I'm making sure that they're okay and comfortable asking those questions versus just throwing it over the fence in the actual call itself. So this is all about making it easy for the mobilizer to understand where you want to go with the discussion. Now, step 3 might seem minor, but I dedicated a whole slide to it because this is something I have traditionally undervalued, and it's bit me in the butt. 3 steps here. 1, when we open the meeting, label what is the objective, right? The objective is not for me to pitch you on my solution. It is to arrive at a shared understanding of the problem, right? Be very specific that this is not a solution discussion. 2, lower their defenses by letting them know that the answer of this is not the right problem for us to solve right now is completely acceptable. This is where we got to jump out of our kind of sales hat, right? We've got to remember that if we are going to be able to effectively facilitate collective learning, They have to look at us as someone who's not tremendously biased, as someone who's not going to take anything they say and try to overcome it and turn it into a reason to buy. So acknowledging this in the beginning of the meeting sets that tone and sets you up to be an effective facilitator. And lastly, clarify that your role is two things. One is to add to the group's discussion by bringing the insight that you have in working with other, organizations that are pursuing something similar. But two, to facilitate the group's exploration of the issue. So you want to be super intentional about explaining, my job here is not to convince you to buy X. My job is to aid you in your own discovery of this problem that you're looking to solve. Now, once we've done that, we're obviously getting into running the meeting itself. So this is where we're going to take that summary statement that we co-drafted with our Mobilizer and share that with the group, in obviously incorporating your reframe from sort of challenger language so that there is something for the group to react to. This, by and large, is one of the most critical components of the meeting. If we imagine what it's like to be a customer, they're jumping from Zoom to Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, and they get on our Zoom and we're like, hey, so we're talking about the problem of new logo acquisition today. What does everybody think? One, it's work for them. Two, it's annoying. Why am I educating the seller so that they can more effectively sell me something? We have to remember that our job is to bring insight, to bring value to that conversation. So you want something for them to react to. It is far easier to react to than just massive open-ended questioning. Two, once we share that, we want to, again, flip off our natural sales instincts to encourage agreement and actually intentionally seek disagreement. So you'll use questions like, here's the problem as we've sort of uncovered it, but who's got a different opinion on this? It is such a powerful question as opposed to, does anybody disagree? Who agrees with this, right? This is intentionally saying, who is the person that doesn't look at this way, right? And that's very intentional wording so that people feel safe and comfortable voicing disagreement. The reason we want disagreement is because we want it on this call. We don't want those people who sit back in their chairs like this, ignore us, and then when the meeting is over and they get asked for feedback, say, I never liked anything about that, right? We want them to speak up about the problem on the call because that is our opportunity to understand what's really going on. And please, when we are getting disagreement, we have to resist the urge to overcome objections, right? Remember, our role in these conversations is to be a facilitator who prompts for others to respond. So we're going to talk about some tactics, but prompting is one of them. If someone says, I actually don't think we should be focused on new logo acquisition, I think we should be focused on customer retention, you're going to use your understanding from the Mobilizer, the prep work that we did, to say, got it, Ron, I'm hearing you on that. Wendy, what is your opinion on this? And you're prompting others to weigh in instead of you overcoming objections all the time. Remember, the idea is to get the group talking. And lastly, big one, another big miss I've made plenty of times in my career is we got to acknowledge the rest of the priority list. Remember, again, in our prep, we talked about understanding what are the other competing priorities that might make folks skeptical of solving for this one. So ask the question. It seems like Debbie, who might be our Mobilizer, feels like this one is the bigger issue, but given your role, I imagine for solving this for this other thing is really important. Like, how do we weigh these two problems as a group? Right? Make it easy for them to speak up, make it easy for them to voice a disagreement. And this is probably the single most important thing we could do, because this is where you're going to surface maybe things the Mobilizer didn't know about were priorities, different opinions that will help us understand, do we still have more work to do on building up the problem before we jump into solution? So 3 steps for running the meeting. Last thing here on running the meeting itself, before we get to closing the meeting, is these are just some things, some tactics that, if you're a seller, if you're a consultant, if you're a teacher, and I don't care what you're doing, if you're trying to facilitate discussion, really come into play. So prompting, we just talked about, is asking very specific questions to elicit different opinions. Bounding is something I think we've all probably run up against, where you get a couple people who want to take the call in a completely different direction, and you don't want to be disrespectful or dismissive. So one tactic is to use the quote unquote parking lot. And what that sounds like is something like this. Bill, Mary, you've raised a really important question that it sounds like the group should definitely explore. But for the purposes of today, would it be okay with you if we put this in the parking lot and revisited it after we solve for this first thing first, right? So you're acknowledging it, you're not dismissing it, you're being respectful, but you're helping them understand that we need to stay on track without dismissing it entirely. Last two, summarizing, mirroring. This is a big one. Another one where I wish I had been better about this early on. Participants do the same thing that we sometimes in sales do, right? They're thinking about what they're going to say next as the next person is talking. And so one of the best roles you can play as a facilitator is something that we call summarizing or mirroring, which is across the course of the conversation, sort of summarizing. Here's what I've been hearing so far. Before we move on and address this particular aspect of the problem, let me make sure that we're on the same page in terms of how the group feels about this. That way, for those people who haven't been paying attention because they're thinking about how they're going to say what they're saying, you're doing a service to them and making sure you're monitoring the group's consensus along the way. And last thing, we touched on this early, it's just transitions. If you've got an hour, you need to have milestones of where you want to be. And you need to have ways to redirect the conversation if it's going off the rails. So actually on your PowerPoint slide or on your meeting notes, documenting by 15 minutes in, this is where I want the group to be. If they are not here, here's the question I'm going to ask to make sure we can get better back on track for it. So just 4 sort of tactical tips for effective facilitation. And last thing, closing the group meeting. So again, 3 steps here. This is not our time to be a wallflower. This is where we are going to be incredibly direct. Getting those meetings with all of those stakeholders is so hard. Soft exiting those meetings is one of the biggest mistakes I've candidly made in my career. So we want to be direct and ask 2 questions and ask it bluntly, right? We've all spent 50 minutes talking about this particular problem. We're now more educated on each other's viewpoints. So I have to ask the team, where do we sit right now? What is in your gut? Is 2 questions. Is this a problem worth solving? And then second, is this a problem solving worth now? And in one of the episodes from last month's podcast, we talked to Moore, and Moore shared this idea of using the question, why not later? This is where we want to use our challenger skills and not look for the answer we want to hear, but for the answer that we need to hear. So these 2 questions are really, really powerful. If you get that pushback around, well, we need to discuss as a team, totally understand. I'm not looking for a final answer. I'm just seeking an understanding of what's in your gut right now. What makes you nervous? What makes you skeptical? And get those real answers out. Now, you're going to get one of 2 things that happen, right? The group did not achieve consensus. So our job as the facilitator of collective learning is to identify and label what is creating that stall and recommend a very specific action step. So not just, well, let's get back on the phone together next week and talk about it some more, but be intentional, right? Mary, it seems like, our inability to size this problem seems to be standing in the way of figuring out, should we address it? So can I work with you to understand this data? And then we can all come back together as a group next week and have a more thoughtful discussion, right? So identify what's missing from consensus, label a next step, and then identify how the group will benefit. Or if we're lucky and they did achieve consensus on the problem, we agreed it's a priority that we need to solve for right now, a couple things. 1, update the summary statement you created with the mobilizers to factor in the feedback. We want to make the members of the buying group feel included and empowered in this, right? If it is all just Mary the mobilizer, Mary may start to get a little bit of anxiety around this whole thing seems like it's coming back to me. So we want to create this environment where it is a group decision. It is a group understanding of the problem. So offer to update that. And then before you move to solution, and I cannot reiterate this enough because I've made this mistake so many times, don't jump to solution yet. Validate that we've had a really effective discussion today, but usually these discussions result in us realizing Bob or Sue or Sally should have been part of this. So who is Bob, Sue, or Sally for you, right? Who else needs to weigh into this piece before we get into the solution? And this is just kind of standard commercial coaching, right? Coach your buyers on how to buy. This way we can reduce the likelihood that we get caught off guard at the 12th hour by saying, oh, our president needs to review this. And I'm speaking from experience. That happened to me this year because I did not do this. So closing out the meeting is important. Now, last thing, I'm not going to read through all of this. You can obviously access the replay and take a look at this. But there are just some really common pitfalls when I observe sellers making, delivering group meetings. A couple I will call out is please, please, please resist the urge to open up with a slide all about you. It sets the tone for the conversation. It immediately puts people into the defense of this is a sales pitch. Remember, we are making the opening of the meeting all about the problem, not about the solution. The third thing, you prepared a presentation and 20 minutes into the conversation, you're the only one who has spoken. This is hard, right? We have to rewire our role from pitching a solution to actually facilitating collective learning. And the best facilitators in training and whatever are those that actually get the group talking. So think long and hard about what questions you're going to ask, how you avoid the does this make sense questions. Some of the best preparation you can do is thinking about your choreography and then writing down 2 or 3 questions for each stage. And then last piece that I guess I'll call out here is the yes, no questions. In that notion of questions, avoid yes, no things, avoid false agreement questions. I wish I came up with this term, I didn't, but false agreement questions are kind of leading the witness. It's things like, does this look accurate, right? Most people are going to say, yeah. What you want, again, is to seek that disagreement instead. So that covers it for kind of tactics for today. But those of you who are following along with us in this series, some of you may be familiar with the fact that we also have a complimentary series on podcast version. It's called the same thing, Winning the Challenger Sale. And I want to clarify, because I've been getting some questions about this. Today's intention, the webinar's intention, is to give you repeatable frameworks, things that you can try. But there's not just one way to resolve group tension, right? And group disagreement. In fact, there's many ways to do it. And so what we look to do is every single Tuesday when a new episode comes out, we pick the brains of someone who has addressed this problem successfully, and we get them talking about how have they done it in their own experience, right? So ultimately what we hope to do here is to give you 5, 6 different ideas of how you attack this really, really significant problem. So you can see 2 of them are already done for the month. Bilal, amazing, amazing, amazing advice there. Howard Brown, who's actually a CEO, so we did something a little bit different, flipped it on its head and said, Howard, you've been a buyer. What are you looking for the seller to do in that experience? So totally different take on a guest here. And then we've got Luigi, we've got Charles, we've got Amy coming up. So if you want to keep learning on this topic, so much more wisdom than just what I shared today. You can listen anywhere you get your podcasts. And lastly, next time, we are talking driving urgency for change. So again, we're kind of taking it in chronological order. We are looking at, for those of you who are now at the point where we've got the group bought into the problem, now how do we encourage urgency to solve for it? So this is where we're going to get into solution. This is where we're going to revisit our cost of inaction and think differently about how we use it late stage. So September 8th, same time, same place. Hope you'll be there. Now, with the time we've got left, I would love, I don't know if okay, it looks like chat is up and running again. Thank you so much, Wendy. Let's see what questions we've got and see if, feel free to put them in Q&A, feel free to put them in the chat function, whatever makes the most sense. Cool. So we got lots of pizza toppings, a lot of pepperoni, some anchovies. Can't say that's my favorite. We got a half C right there. That's a good one. Anyone saying pineapple should be removed from the session? I said pineapple. Okay, so let's scroll down. Okay, so everybody who registered, just to clarify, will receive an email with a replay of the presentation. So you'll get that as a registrant. And let's see. You mean not to offer the solution in the first meeting? Yes. And again, I know this is kind of counterintuitive because we think the buying group is here. Let's get them learning about the solution. But again, a lot of the objections that we get from groups are as a result of the group not aligning on the importance of the problem or the prioritization of the problem. When we lead with the solution, we put the cart before the horse. So we've got to get alignment on the problem so that when we show the solution, people appreciate the cost of the problem and why it's urgent to solve for it. Okay. We got some people saying they're reading Challenger Customer. That's awesome. Okay. How to overcome a mobilizer's reluctance to actually host the group meeting. Fantastic question from Elena. So I think this is where we have to be really direct, because one of two things can be happening here. Either we mischaracterize them as a mobilizer. They're actually a talker. And I've fallen for this head fake so many times. We talked about this in the last session. We have to really make sure that that person has the credibility, has the behaviors to mobilize in the business, right? So it's a good opportunity to check, am I actually working with a mobilizer or am I working with a talker? Second thing is I would be as direct as possible, right? I would label it. I would say it feels a little bit about like there's some hesitancy here in pulling together the group to discuss this problem. Would you help me understand where that's coming from, right? And I don't think you do it in a condescending way. I don't think you do it in a salesy kind of way, but it could be, hey, the group has been discussing this other problem, and I actually think this problem is much smaller than this one, and they need our help connecting, right? So usually by being direct, by asking that question, it opens up an opportunity for us to aid the mobilizer so that it isn't as much work or effort on their behalf. Okay, we got people asking for, let me put the podcast slide back up because we got some people asking for that. And then I'll pull up chat over here. Okay. What else do we got? What if your mobilizer becomes hesitant on the co-draft? Should we retest if they are a true mobilizer? This is from Dustin Day. Hi, Dustin. So if the mobilizer is hesitant on the co-draft, I would say either one, there's something going on behind the scenes that we haven't effectively pulled out of them. And so always ask that question. What's changed since the last time we spoke? Has something affected the way that you were looking at this problem when we spoke a week ago, 2 weeks ago, right? Like I ran into this a couple months ago because an organization was laying off people. They didn't know it was coming. That actually blew up the whole plan, right? So acknowledge there's a lot happening right now. Things are moving quickly. Did something change on your end? 2, on the co-draft piece, if they're hesitant, I would definitely ask them directly, what about this is making you hesitant on the subject? Is it that you're unsure that we've effectively captured what the group would anticipate about this problem? And in that case, it might actually be good to give them the coaching to say, here's how I'd socialize the problem with them. We don't have to do a group meeting on it, yes, but socialize it by asking this question, right? So you give them, again, you aid them, you reduce their effort by saying, go to these 2 people and ask them this question and see how they respond, right? So you're giving them a job to do that doesn't feel as big as pull everybody together in a meeting. So that would be how I would handle it. Okay, when you facilitate one of these discussions, how do you handle when the problem defined is much bigger, broader than what your solution addresses? And how do you avoid losing credibility if the problem that requires addressing has expanded beyond your expertise? This is something, man, I'm really glad you asked this because I relate to this a lot. This was something that was terrifying for me when I first started group meetings, especially when I was getting people that were represented from different functions that I wasn't as used to working with. So totally understand the concern and the fear there. I think this is where when we set up the meeting, remember the opener, by opening the meeting effectively and labeling the problem that we are discussing, this is where that parking lot technique can come into play, right? So it is okay to say, this is like, this conversation we're having is incredible, right? It seems like we've identified X, Y, and Z as also being incredibly important, but would you mind if we put those in the parking lot for today while we still figure out this problem? And I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some thinking around what other things might be helpful for you to consider, given that X, Y, and Z are also of value. And the thing I would say here is we don't always have to map it back to us. I cannot tell you the number of times when I've had a customer or prospect come and say, I need help with X. And one of the best ways we can build credibility as a facilitator of collective learning is to be honest when it's out of our wheelhouse and to say, you know what, candidly, I think this might be the right thing for you to look at. So don't always feel the pressure to bring it back to you. If they are expressing that these problems are bigger and they have a fair case, we're not going to win that deal anyway if we can't compete on it, right? So it's okay, because then they will look at you as someone who's truly looking at their best interests. And, you know, when the time is right, ultimately come back. Okay, let's see if we've got any Q&A. Okay, when you're co-drafting a plan for the group meeting and showing your mobilizer a plan for the meeting, the choreography, are you showing your slides or reviewing a written outline? This is a great question. I think this is a matter of personal preference. I don't see any issue whatsoever with doing a written outline, if that is more, that's your preference. I prefer slides just because I want them to know like on which slide is where I'm going to say what, so they see how the slides tie into the choreography. But I've also run plenty of meetings where we haven't used slides. And I would say the other thing we didn't talk about today is in these group discussions, doing death by presentation slides is obviously not going to help us get, great discussion going. So one thing I'll do if I am using slides is I'll toggle on and off. So I'll give them something to react to. I'll put it on the screen and then I'll unshare. And then I'll say, all right, now here's intentional, powerful question, right? And if someone's like, I need to see the slide again, you can put it back up. But definitely in these group meetings, don't just have, death by slides for the entire hour. We want to toggle on and off so that people know we want to have a conversation. Okay, any other questions in terms of time? It looks like, I think we covered it. So I hope all of you, first of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for learning with us. I hope you'll check out the podcast, keep learning on this topic. And then I hope to see you in September when we talk driving urgency. Thanks all for listening.